All right, so this is a bit of a unique stream. This is going to be a test. Normally when I'm out by myself, I have one configuration of equipment that is light, easy to carry around, runs for hours. It's fantastic, but very limited microphone capabilities. So when I'm walking around with Charles or Tara or anybody, or I have the, uh-oh, are we live? Oh man, it looks like no. What did I forget here? Well, this is okay. Even if it's not live on YouTube, it's going to cover a lot of what I wanted to talk. Okay, it's live.
Runs for hours.
There it is. So the issue is I'm constantly trying to refine the system, you know, solve the problems, to be able to bring people cool and interesting live streams, not only from around New York City, we're just in my neighborhood right now, but you know, from all around the world, from wherever we might go. But the point of the matter is, whatever you do, I mean, if you're trying to send a fax to somebody, I don't know where I came up with that. Somebody I was trying to call before, they had a fax number and I got that fax noise in my ear. But the point of the matter is, sometimes even you try to print something on your computer and you run into, you know, you're out of paper, or the driver's not right, or you're out of ink and you put the ink in and it's the wrong ink, or you think you have the ink in and it's not printing, and it's, you know what I'm talking about. These problems can be difficult to solve. And I'm not trying to make this a channel about computer troubleshooting. Incidentally, by the way, look at this. It was raining like crazy moments ago. Hot, beautiful, all morning. Then it got breezy, dark, and humid. Bang! Crazy downpour. And now it's nice again. But the reason why I'm talking about this right now, and I can't remember if I said this to Charles or if I said it on air or what, but it's a little bit like in the Karate Kid, you know, where he makes him wax the floor. I think I said it on the air. And the idea is, if people can kind of get their minds wrapped around the troubleshooting process involved in resolving a computer problem, and I'm considering these phones and this electronic recorder computers, because in many regards they are. There's logic in this, memory, USB interfaces. There's a network between this and this. So I got a whole computer network cooking over here. Plus I'm broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal. I'm sending this live stream video to you guys, digital audio from this thing, wireless microphones. Then there's a stabilizer, batteries running all this stuff. This is like a complex integrated system, and any piece of it goes wrong and you guys don't see the show. So the thing I'm trying to get to is, there's so many super nice people, super generous people, and I'm not just talking about generous by becoming sponsors. People who are generous in their comments, generous with their time, generous with their thoughtfulness in expressing kind words to me. And by the way, you don't have to do this. If you think I'm a jerk and this show is terrible, you're absolutely free to feel that way. But why you think me or anybody like me that you think is no good wants to hear your opinion of us, that's a mystery to me. If you don't like me or what I do or say, there's a very simple solution. It's called turn off the video and go away. I think we could all benefit from a little bit of that, you know, treat others as you'd like them to treat you, and if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything. Because it's like a lot of smartasses on the internet, people who are like, ooh, you can't take criticism, constructive criticism. First of all, who determines if a piece of criticism is constructive or destructive? If you have no idea what models of equipment I'm using, what version of the software is in each of them, how they're connected, and what I'm trying to do, you don't have any clue how to give me any constructive input into how to make this work. I mean, this is like me calling up some doctor, not knowing anything about a particular case he might be working on, and giving him advice. Somebody's leaving their, I mean, you know, people need to worry about themselves. Like, pick up after your dog, and some guy just spit in the street a minute ago when I was walking over here. I think the last thing people should be doing is telling other people what to do. And you might argue that I'm telling people what to do right now. I'm kind of trying to avoid that. You know, I have a general kind of take on advice. And I came up with this pretty late in life. I was in my 30s or even my 40s. I had asked a very respected friend of mine in the 3D world, known Hollywood guy. I got into a problem with Sony. They had hired me to develop, look at that bird on the door there. They had hired me to develop a 3D camera because 3D was heating up and Panasonic kind of beat them to the punch. And I developed it. This was, the California division of Sony. Sony Electronics is in Japan. So when the Japanese end of Sony got wind that this project was happening and was moving forward with some success, they got pissed off. They said, we don't want some idiot in his garage in California to scoop us. We're going to make this. So the Japanese engineers, beat my development to the punch. And the American dope at Sony who had signed a contract with me was basically flat out told me they weren't going to pay me and stop all work. To which I said, dude, you signed the contract. I've spent money. You guys owe me like tons of money. And he was like, yeah, we're not going to pay it. You might choose to sue us. And he said that because he knew it wasn't his, but that guy was fired soon after, by the way. Sony is run like shit, or it was then. And a lot of companies are run like that. That guy knew he could get away with that, and I just basically was sort of left holding the bag. And I spoke to this friend of mine, and I said, what do you think I should do? And he told me to go tell Sony to F themselves. Now, here's another idiot on a skateboard where he shouldn't be. Told me to tell Sony to go F themselves, which was a terrible idea because separate from this 3D camera contract, I was also working on Spider-Man, and there was also a lot of money that they were going to pay me to do that. So if I had taken this person's advice, which frankly from his standpoint was good advice, because if Sony had hired him, he didn't need the money. He could tell them to go F themselves and it would have, zero impact on his life. I was trying to complete the Spider-Man contract, get onto more work with Sony, and I had to weigh in my mind. And then, by the way, this guy who told me they weren't going to pay knew this also. I had to weigh that person's advice. Is this good advice for me? Because people give you advice, it's from their point of view. And it was like a couple of occasions where there were people who I trusted and who cared about me, who gave me advice that I know they wanted it to be good advice, but it was just absolutely terrible for me and would have resulted in a real problem. Now, so the other thing I wanted to do on this test, which, by the way, this is working so much better than it has. I don't know if people can see the battery level there, but it's at 80%. And by the way, that's not by accident. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I wanted to come over here to the High Line and see what's up. Weekdays, 7 to 9. Welcome. It says wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart. Now, is that mandated or suggested? Because they don't have anybody here not letting you up, and there's a guy not wearing a mask. Let's go up there and see what's going on. I was going to bring the other, the handheld microphone so that we could actually, make use. It doesn't use any additional power, so it's not going to really do anything. This is mostly just testing the interface between the phone and the sound recorder, which I'm using every weekend with Charles, or anytime we go, to DC, if we're on the street interviewing anybody. There's all kinds of different parameters that the audience really isn't privy to. Yeah, nobody's wearing masks up here. Good. So the High Line is somewhat returning to normal. That's a good thing. I was a little annoyed that we've got the dopes, including the Rube Cuomo, as depicted. Manny Grossman, I think, is with us in the chat. He caught it right away. Rube Cuomo. Don't miss Manny's show tonight at 6. We're going to be digging into more of his Son of Sam investigation. He's done another interview with Carl Denaro. This is historic. I mean, Manny is now interfacing with the surviving victims of Son of Sam, using the power of social media and the internet to crowdsource an investigation and dig up details that, frankly, nobody's ever found before. I am feeling really good to be back up here, and it's remarkably uncrowded. This is the least crowded I've ever seen the High Line. Oh my God, and it feels good to touch grass. I've been sitting in the apartment for days. It's been rainy and terrible, so it's nice to be out. And thanks everybody for joining me on this test. But part of the reason I'm telling everybody about this test and doing it in public and talking about, Lenny telling me to tell Sony to go screw themselves and all this is that if you consider what I'm saying right now to be advice, the first thing I would tell you about it is to listen to it and throw it away if you don't like it. If you can take something from it that helps you, I'm happy. But I try deliberately to avoid telling people what they should do. Like, friends who are engaged in business or whatever. Now, very often people come to me and ask me for advice. That's different. If someone asks you for advice, then by all means, give it. A lot of people ask me for advice about 3D photography. All right, so problem there that just disconnected me from the internet and almost. All right, so we'll see if this solved it. I think it might not have. Might be in trouble here. Let's see. So, see, we're going to talk about this right now. Aha, it's back. I think it's back. I hope it's back. Let's see. Am I back? I think I'm back. All right. So here's the other thing about complex problems. I'm glad that happened. Because a lot of people watching will presume, oh man, I hope that's back. Well, we'll keep walking and talking and we'll see if we get it back. I thought it was back. Well, let's hope it's back. That escalated quickly. Exactly. Okay, yeah, I think we're back. Let me see if this is, let's just hear what I'm saying here.
It's back.
Right, okay. So a lot of people are gonna see two problems right in a row and think those problems are related, but they're not. The battery is still super full on the sound recorder. The sound recorder and its battery have nothing to do with the connection to the internet. So there can even be multiple simultaneous problems that seem related, but aren't. Now again, this is not intended to be a video about how to troubleshoot problems with your ad hoc micro Wi-Fi network as you do live streams walking around New York City. I'm bringing up all these points because I want this to be kind of like an allegory for people. Because a lot of times people see something in the news or they hear one little piece of evidence that they think is the answer to a particular issue or matter, or they draw conclusions like this came up just the other day. The absolute moron, Mike Lindell, and he's a moron. And just because you like his pillows and because you like Donald Trump and you wanted him to win and you think that Mike Lindell is helping that, that doesn't mean that Mike Lindell is not an idiot. And I didn't start out thinking Mike Lindell was an idiot. I started out thinking he was a guy selling pillows who liked Trump and just maybe had some bad info. And I thought, maybe I can help this guy get a better result. Let him know that he's dealing with bad info and tell him why so that he can form his own opinion about it. Let me take people back, because people who hear me say Mike Lindell is an idiot, which he is, and a liar, which he also is, and Mike, if you're not, come on the show, prove me wrong. Or just call me back, send me an email. Explain why you refuse to listen to the information that I was trying to share with you. Oh yeah, oh wait, we're back in the same spot that cut out before. Let's see if we can see these blueberries without killing the camera. All right, Manny, are these wild blueberries? Will I die if I eat one of these? I think they're blueberries, but probably just picking a blueberry and eating it is maybe a terrible idea. That's advice for today. I called Mike Lindell to say, Mike, you're trying to do this election integrity effort, and you're trying to present evidence and information that's going to compel some legal body to take action. You're going to go to court, etc. I said to him, listen, you got to get this information from Mary Fanning and Dennis Montgomery out of your, you know, your whole spectrum of information that you're dealing with, because this guy is not a reliable witness. And the reason why I was bringing this up to him is not because I dislike Mary Fanning. It's not because I dislike Dennis Montgomery. I don't know these people, and I just don't care about them at all. The problem is Dennis Montgomery has been involved in a lot of, we're going to talk about this in a minute too. He's been involved in a lot of litigation that hasn't gone well. He's been called a fraud by his own former attorney. Now, do people hear that clicking? It went away. But that's yet a separate problem. And you see, that's a problem that's spanning devices. This phone versus an iPad at the studio. This recorder versus a different audio interface at the studio. So when people who don't know anything about what I'm doing tell me, your technical problems are interrupting Charles, just stay in the apartment, I say, shut the F you up. Because that is a bit of advice for a loser. No problem was ever solved by giving up and going home. And by the way, there's no guarantee that that will solve the problem either. See, hear that clicking? We're going to fix simultaneous problem. Those types of issues, multiple simultaneous problems, those are the recipes for disaster. Very, very rare. That one single simple problem, like, oh, it must be a loose USB cable. Get a different USB cable. Do you know how insulting that is, that you think I am not thinking of something as simple as that? And by the way, I don't care. I get insulted by people all the time. But my point is, if you are actually a supporter, because all these people write these messages, oh, I'm just trying to help, I'm just trying to help. I'm saying it again and again. Offering advice to people in a field that you know nothing about is not helpful. So let me calm down, because I get worked up when I recount these annoying emails. I get so many emails, and there's a lot of thoughtful people who send me thoughtful emails, and I think that's really nice. People want to spread happiness. Thoughtful, kind emails do that. I'm so glad to be back up at the high. Okay, there's another problem, but I think we've recovered from that. So, see, there's the thing that I said to the person who told me to just go back to the apartment to do Charles's show, is that giving up is the strategy of losers. And I will have other problems over there. We need to work through this problem and solve it. And what just happened right there is sort of an unsolvable problem. As I move around through New York City and other cities, there are gaps in the mobile data network, there's radio interference all over the place. So I've developed a functional workaround that lets me recover from that type of failure. But short of inventing a new cellular network or a new way of broadcasting my phone to you guys, there's nothing I can do to solve that problem. So when I called Mike Lindell to tell him that you're using bad evidence, a person who is not an idiot, a thoughtful person who actually wanted to solve that problem, would want to hear the details of what I know, even if it's wrong. Now, some smart ass out there would say, like, oh, well, Jason, you don't know anything about election law and election integrity. Why should Mike Lindell take your advice? But if you go back and listen to that phone call, I'm very careful to tell people like Mike Lindell, or anybody that I call up unsolicited, hey, I'm not trying to tell you to do anything. I just want to share the information that I have so you can evaluate it and include it in your calculation. That means if I tell him something and he right away says, oh, well, I know that's false, I know this thing that Jason doesn't know, etc., he can do whatever he wants with the information. It seems to me a sensible person who's really trying to do the right thing would just simply say, hey, thanks, I'm not interested in that information, or just take the information and say thanks for calling and file it away and just never do anything with it. To make the idiotic comment that I am working for Dominion voting because I couldn't answer his rapid fire questions and agree with what he was saying. I didn't call him to agree with him. I called him to share with him a New York Times article in which Dennis Montgomery's former attorney, coincidentally, and I'm having a really tough time getting over this coincidence, his former attorney, who's coincidentally also named Michael Flynn, in the New York Times, says he's a fraud. So that's a major problem, because even if you think he's not a fraud, you're going to get him into court, you get his testimony into court, and your opposition, the opposing counsel, is going to say, well, the New York Times and this guy's former attorney says he's a fraud, and it's going to look terrible in front of the judge and the jury, and it's going to ruin the case. And that, when I say that, I mean Mike's reaction to me sharing that information with him, coupled with other things that I know about Mike Lindell, have caused me to believe that he is not doing what he wants everybody to believe he's doing. He's not actually trying to preserve election integrity. He's just trying to find a new way to sell his stupid polyurethane-filled pillows, which I've also sampled and find to be substandard crap. I've also evaluated his patent, and I think that there's something wrong there. I don't think that patent is a patent you could be granted by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office without some kind of something going on. I don't know what that is, but in order to get a patent on something, it needs to be novel, meaning new, nobody's done it before, and it cannot be obvious. Like, it can't be so simple that just any random person thought of it. Like, if you invent, air conditioning or something, and it's 1900 whatever, and you're in Syracuse, and somebody comes into your place and says, hey, Mr. Carrier, it's freezing in here, but it's hot outside. What are you doing? He's like, yeah, I figured out that if you compress air and evaporate it over coils and do all this and that, you can cool off the room. And people are like, wow, how the hell did you think of that? And he goes and writes out how he thought of it, put it down for a patent, and they say, wow, what a great, unique new idea. Air conditioning, pow, you got the patent. Now you're the only guy who can sell air conditioning, unless somebody invents some new novel way to do the same thing. But just having a patent for a group, it's a plurality of foam pieces, and then a second plurality that is slightly smaller than the first plurality of foam pieces, and a third plurality of foam pieces that are slightly smaller than the second. That's just 3 different sizes of torn up foam mixed around inside a pillow. That's obvious. That is not unique or novel. I don't understand how he got the patent, and he goes on yelling about this patented pillow filling, not to mention polyurethane, the temperature of your head. What is it, off-gassing chemicals? Are you breathing in polyurethane every night that you sleep on that pillow? And what does that do to you? Why don't you just get a pillow filled with cotton or feathers or whatever other pillows are filled up? Anyway, the point is, the guy acted in such a strange way when I brought this information to him that it causes me to suspect, why is he doing that? Additionally, when I asked Patrick Byrne about my conversation pertaining to Mary Fanning and Dennis Montgomery, which, by the way, Mary Fanning is a producer of all of Mike Lindell's stupid documentaries where he's talking about dropping bombs and other... He's just such a bad spokesperson for anything. It's a shock to me. And now we see, he appears with Steve Bannon. They're advertising the pillow. Every tweet I've seen from Jack Posobiec is telling you to get a discount on the pillow. So what the hell is going on? These guys are selling pillows, or they're trying to preserve the integrity of something? It just seems like a big pillow sale to me. And Patrick Byrne, when I asked him, why did Mike Lindell freak out when I asked him about Dennis Montgomery and Mary Fanning? Well, Patrick Byrne freaked out and assaulted me. You assaulted me, Patrick Byrne. You're a big, goofy dope. And frankly, a coward. If you didn't have 2 armed guards with you, I wonder how you would have acted. I bet a lot different. Stupid asshole. Sorry. Anyway, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm venting a bit here, but it's a good test of the equipment. So this thing's been driving the phone for a while now. The phone's at over 80% battery, and we've been I don't know how long we've been broadcasting because I've turned it off a few times. We've been broadcasting for 30 minutes, and we're at 80% battery, so that's good. Right, exactly. So I think somebody now is talking about Patrick. They're supposed to drop all this information. What have they ever dropped? It's the same as those idiots with the Falcon pajama guy. Oh, we have big info. First of all, if you have big info about anything, don't tell people, just drop it. Just put it out. Because when you say, well, I'm going to release it in a week, well, that gives... Did it just lose? No, there it is. You tell them we're going to release it in a week. Now they have a week to, car accident you or whatever. So that's just stupid. And I agree, they haven't released anything. The sound sucks, love, no image. No, I don't think that's right. That might be a problem with your eyes, and maybe clean the shit out of your ears. Because I'm monitoring the sound and it sounds pretty good. I didn't even have to go to the 24-bit setting. I spent a lot of time on the phone with sound devices. Haha, Lori Arnold. So this is cool. I'm learning who the idiots are. Okay? So when we see these social engineering comments, Jaden X cannot fix my technical problems. He might be technically sophisticated, but wow, Barry Diller, anytime I start talking about that guy, we seem to lose the broadcast. But again, battery on the phone, kicking strong, nothing to do with that failure. So, I've spoken about this process, Kaizen. The constant refinement of a technique or a product through incremental improvements. And that means not just, going home when something doesn't work. Okay, I see we're back. Thanks to people who stuck with me there. So resolving complex problems, it involves not just clinging to the first most obvious piece of information that comes up. It involves constant checking, constant stress testing, constant questioning. Is this the cause? Is this related? Could it be something else? After I resolve something, is it still creating a problem? Look at all these places out of business. I mean, we were over here with Charles the other day, but it's really something to see. And so, I could make a list of the different types of problems that these various broadcasts are subject to, but it does seem possible that rapid battery drainage may be resolved. And also, by the way, just a few weeks ago, every time I got cut off from the internet, it caused me to create a new live stream. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitch or maybe even vk.com or some of those other ones, you guys are going to get a bunch of tiny little videos. But what I've been able to do in this Kaizen pursuit of improving the show, combating these problems, I've been able to devise a technique that allows me to restart the stream on the same video so that when it's done, you could just go to the same YouTube video or Rumble video and watch the whole show. Yeah, by the way, let me remind people that if you missed the Citizens Grand Jury because it's been pulled from YouTube and Crowdsource the Truth 3 was destroyed and removed from YouTube, you can see it on Rumble. That was an amazing bit of video with Larry Klayman's Citizens Grand Jury. We had expert witness testimony from Dr. Judy Mikovits, from Kent Heckenlively, her co-author, and from John Cullen. John has just been knocking it. Ooh, that dude was smoking a massive blunt. John Cullen has been just absolutely knocking it out of the park, blowing so many lids off so many cover-ups. It's amazing. If you did not see last Friday's episode of John Cullen Investigates on subscribestar.com and patreon.com, either I am John Cullen or Crowdsource the Truth, you got to check that out. He is onto something massive. Now, from what I have learned, a ketam lawsuit, in order for you to file a ketam lawsuit, which is what John had intended to do, I think the first thing is you're not supposed to tell anybody about it before you file it, because then they can go do it, I guess. But actually the bigger issue is, according to one expert I've spoken to, you need to be an insider who is bringing them confidential information that you have access to and that is being hidden by the people that are involved in the graft, the theft, the waste, the stuff you're blowing the whistle on, and that if you're just using public domain information, that cannot be used for a qui tam lawsuit. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. Now, here is where the crowdsourcing of the truth comes into play, because it is not crowdsource your guess. It is not crowdsource your opinion. It is not crowdsource your shitty attitude. Crowdsource the truth. So, if you are a lawyer, if you are a person with direct first-hand experience and actual knowledge of how qui tam lawsuits work, I'd love to hear from you. An email. If you confirm what I've just said, yes, Jason, that is correct. In order for a qui tam lawsuit to work, you need to be an insider with confidential information. That's helpful. Conversely, if you are a lawyer or a person with first-hand information in qui tam lawsuits and you say, Jason, that's wrong. I filed a qui tam lawsuit and recovered X amount of dollars and it was all public domain information. That's also helpful. I think you're wrong. I think the show is bad. I think you should stay home. I think you should do this and that. I don't care. Look at this. What is that flag there? I mean, I know I guess it's LGBTQ, but what's the triangles on the left? Anybody know what that's about? There, we can crowdsource that. If you have any idea what that is, maybe it's just eyes? I think it's a symbol. It definitely, you know what? That is reminiscent of that Native American symbol painted on the side of the building at 425 Carroll Street that I'm always talking to David Hawkins about. Huh. Does anybody know about Native American symbology? That's always helpful. There's a lot of people out there who know a lot of things about topics. So now it did shut down. And that's really only after 40 minutes. So something is still wrong. I need to get back with sound devices. I mean, look at the size of these batteries on here. These things should last 8 hours or something like that. So that's very weird that just turned off. Okay, but this is useful. I can now go speak with the extremely helpful and professional technician I've been dealing with, who knows everything about this device, everything about the latest software that's been put in it, future versions of software that they may put in it, and with my input, they might even fix something that me, you, nobody in the audience can fix unless you work there. This is weird. So 50. Let's see what it does. I mean, even this will. I mean, what's wrong with this sort of thing? But again, you know, when a dope like Mike Lindell tells you, "Oh, this is definitely what happened. If you don't agree with me, you work for Dominion voting. You're working for Dominion." The guy is a dope. We've got to scrutinize these issues very, very carefully. I mean, look at what's happened with Fauci, right? All of those mainstream idiots. I mean, this is a different. All right, so that's not going to work. So I've got a solution to bring home the battery. You know, for whatever reason, this thing's not going to give me any more sound. And I planned this as a test. And so there's always other measures, again, given the circumstance, that can be taken. And in this particular circumstance, what we're going to do, this is not a solution that would be suitable if Charles were here. There we go. So now that issue's been mitigated, not solved, but we can continue the conversation as I make my way back to HQ. Don't forget, at 6 o'clock, just an hour and about 20 minutes from now, I'm going to have Manny Grossman back on talking to me about his investigation into the Son of Sam and his recent really cool interview with surviving victim Carl Denaro. Going to have another phone call with sound devices, and now this gives me yet another thing to test, another possible solution for Sunday while sound devices works on a permanent fix. But, you know, with all this complaining, I want to thank the people who have sent me kind emails. A lot of people, actually many more than the complaining emails that I'm explaining right now. Many more people sent me emails thanking me for, you know, working through the technical problems and delivering a video that they still enjoyed despite the technical problems. And, you know, there's lots of ways that you can give people constructive criticism. There's lots of ways that you can give people input. But, I mean, you know, I'm trying to help people understand what to avoid if they actually want to help. And if they actually support the show and don't want to upset me, these are some guidelines to follow. I just want to give people some updates on some of the lawsuits because, you know, this is public information. There are blogs about it. You can go on the docket and look. But let's talk about it because I'm getting annoyed. And, you know, one of the strategies that's being utilized by the limited purpose public figure, who is certainly a suitable topic of discussion in the context of this conversation, in as much as he's involved in a public lawsuit against me, the plaintiff, David George Swigert, he's going to now, you know, put this video in a future pleading. Just the very fact that I mentioned his name, he thinks is a cause of action. But, you know, this is a guy who's abusing the civil justice system to try to prevent. Yeah, now I'm getting annoyed. I don't know how much of this is going out to you guys and how much of it is just a blank spinning screen. That's annoying. Huh. Seems like it might be done. I wonder if any of that ever went out. Oh, man. It's not easy doing these live streams, folks. Anyway, what I was saying is, I think everybody missed my conversation with the smoke shop. That's so annoying. That was hilarious. Well, I'm going to go back and check this live stream, and if people missed that conversation with the guy running the smoke shop, I'm going to make a director's cut out of this, and people will be able to see it on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I got into a whole conversation about the lawsuits and the limited purpose public figure in the field of ethical hacking and social engineering. He's written a book about it, The Ethical Hacker's Guide to something, certified, I don't know. But the point is, could a sophisticated hacker find some way to disrupt my broadcast? Maybe, I don't know. I have no evidence that that is happening. I mean, someone might say the thing cutting when I'm talking about the guy is evidence, but it could be a coincidence. Anyway, the point I'm getting at is this guy, George's brother, he's got his lawsuit against me, Swigert v. Goodman. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I entered a summary judgment motion that basically said, even if everything this guy is saying, what? This has got to be new. That's a bar, Q a noon. How could that possibly last? And I mean, here in Chelsea, I don't imagine too many QAnon people this is so bizarre. Hot apple cider, lentil soup, hummus, baba ganoush. This must mean something that is not what I think it means. Anyway, point of the matter is, we've got this Swigert v. Goodman. Summary judgment has been entered. That's it. He's going to lose. That's my opinion. We'll see what happens. But what has been happening peripherally is that, you know, several months ago, George Webb filed a lawsuit against CNN, which I thought I'd seen some of the stupidest lawsuits I've ever seen between Robert David Steele and David Swigert. But George, I've often said, is the dumbest genius I've ever met. And that's a ridiculous lawsuit. He hasn't even served it to CNN. So now there was supposed to be a hearing today in which David George Swigert is trying to transfer it to New York and to also demonstrate to the court in Michigan that this is related litigation and that it should come to New York and that I should be involved in this lawsuit. Interesting, right? There's also an allegation that's been placed in the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences versus Multimedia System Design, an allegation that Mr. Swigert fomented that lawsuit, that he caused it to happen by alerting the NATAS somehow of the creation of this parody. And he's tried to intervene in that case as well. He's tried to intervene in Steele v. Goodman. He was told, you cannot intervene by right or by permission because you have nothing to do with this case. And then he tried to do it again when Robert David Steele's lawyer brought that case back in violation of a judge's order in a different district or division within the Eastern District of Virginia. The judge told him specifically not to do that. So, I mean, you know, there was a time when these guys said I was a conspiracy theorist because I was alleging that there were a group of people that were trying to bring a bunch of lawsuits against me, frivolous lawsuits, and now here we are, 4 years later. By the way, I want to thank all of the generous people who have gone to crowdsourcethetruth.com and they've scrolled down past, I think I've got today's video there now, but that was the John Cullen Investigates video. But if you scroll down past the video, you can see all the different options for sponsoring the Counter Lawfare Fund. And that money is just being used to run Crowdsource the Truth and, you know, do all the things that cost money, like transcoding videos and multi-streaming and live streaming and building servers that'll ultimately replace the need for Vimeo, and paying web developers and paying lawyers and all the things I need to do to fight the Emmys lawsuit. So people who have been on there and supporting the Counter Lawfare Fund and getting annual subscriptions to Subscribestar, gift subscriptions for friends and family, thank you all so much. I could not have done this without you. And I feel very strongly that this was the goal of these people who are bringing all these lawsuits against me, was to stack them up. Because, I mean, the idea is basically you threaten somebody with a lawsuit, a lot of people are going to back down and go away and stop doing whatever it is you're threatening them about, irrespective of the facts, the law, whatever. But I didn't do that. I fought Steele v. Goodman pro se. So then Mr. Swigert decided to bring a lawsuit against me for a litany of frivolous claims. First in South Carolina, because that's where that, you know, dirty bomb incident occurred. South Carolina said, yeah, but neither of you live in South Carolina, and all this stuff that you're talking about took place in New York, so they sent it to New York. Now he's been, you know, working that over for a long time. And I mean, his goal is to drain my time, drain my resources, keep me focused on that. But what they really want is lots of lawsuits so that I get huge bills and all my time is occupied and I can do nothing but deal with lawsuits. This is my belief. This is my opinion. I'm sharing my opinion of what's happening based on the evidence that I see. And when this hearing came up for today, thank goodness that there are some judges who are doing the proper job. They canceled it. And they said to David Swigert that before he can put in a motion to change the venue to New York, he first has to convince them that he should be allowed to intervene in a case that he has nothing to do with. So this is what I mean when I say he's a vexatious litigant. He's just going all over the place trying to create lawsuits. He's already threatened that he's going to file another lawsuit in California on June 14th, which is like a week from today or yesterday. And I mean, what happened on June 14th? Oh yeah, that's when the bomb hoax happened. So why does he need to file lawsuits to commemorate this stupid bomb hoax that appears to have been created by his brother, Oki Marshall Richards? I didn't know it was a hoax. For all I knew, they could have had valid information. I mean, the FBI was looking into it. Certainly if somebody deliberately created a hoax, somebody other than the FBI, you would hope the FBI would do something about it, but I know I didn't create a hoax. And I know I haven't been arrested by the FBI, so they don't think I've created a hoax. It's only George's brother, really, and Robert David Steele, I believe, who think I created this hoax. And they have just been railing about it for years. So we've also got the Emmys thing going. That's also hopefully coming to a conclusion pretty soon. I mean, there's a lot about that I want to share with people that doesn't make sense to me, but it's ongoing. So there are, certain strategic value to me not speaking about these things necessarily. I'm ready to talk to people about what David Swigert has been doing because it's just so reprehensible. It's got to be stopped. This abuse of the civil justice system. I mean, he's a bully. You're a bully, Dave. And that's my opinion, and I am free to share it when you spend 3 years bullying me in court. It looks like the movie theater is getting some kind of FedEx delivery. Who's going to the movies, I wonder? I mean, this has just got to be losing so much money. Your safety is the focus. So they have chairs. It's committed to meeting and exceeding all CDC guidelines, cinema safe. None of this is going to work. These big giant places that are showing you movies that you could see at your house are going to go out of business pretty soon. That's my opinion. That's something of a projection. So yeah, I am just about done with this live stream. I hope that people will join Manny and I in 1 hour for what will be another really excellent recap of the work that he's been doing, researching and continuing the investigation into this unsolved mystery of the Son of Sam cult. So Jane says counter sue. I mean, that's sort of unsolicited advice, but let's address it. Counter-suing somebody who is broke makes no sense. It takes time, it costs money. Let me give you another example. Before I started Crowdsource the Truth, I was involved in this micro helicopter company, UAV company, when they were very, very new. You didn't have any of these DJI, Phantom and Air and all these little DJI things. We were building our own drones and all that sort of stuff. And we were very early. We had the most powerful drone in the world. We were working with this company in Europe that was on the cutting edge and had my carbon fiber version of my 3D camera on it. We used it to shoot Daydreams of Dubai. It was a very big deal. I got invited to the Directors Guild of America to speak about it, the British Film Institute, the Cannes Film Festival. And I was the CEO of this helicopter company. Two guys I was working with were the primary investors, and when the company started to really take off, frankly, because of what I was doing as the CEO, the deals that I was getting them involved in, the publicity I was getting the thing, it exploded, and they had an investor who wanted to buy equity, but they had given away all the equity to various people that were helping to build the company. So they devised a plan to basically push me out. Well, let me think about this. Anyway, the point of the matter is, I was alleging a breach of contract and I was trying to sue them, and I went to a lot of law firms. This was before Crowdsource the Truth. And they evaluated me, they evaluated the contract, they evaluated the company. They said, you have a good case. It's an open and shut breach of contract, but we don't know as a law firm, even if you win, if these guys have any assets. I mean, you say they got $500,000, but have you seen it? Do you have access to the bank account? And also, that's not that much money. By the time they get done paying their lawyers and spending money on whatever they spend money on day to day, we could sue them, and in 2 or 3 years they have no money. You recover nothing. We don't get paid. So law firms did not want to take that. Law firms don't just go, suing whoever, because they evaluate whether or not you're going to get the money back. And suing a dope who lives in an RV, not a good bet. So it's going to be a difficult problem to get rid of these people. Thank you for that input. Yes, Carol, thank you. Please hit the like button. Yes, see you at 6, everybody. System works for them. The court needs a full docket. Well, that's true, Brian. I just don't think they appreciate, people coming in there with stupid nonsense arguments. Oh, wow, this place has opened. Operation Falafel. Well, in their defense, that was definitely saying it was going to open well before the pandemic. But now it's super empty. But if you want shawarma, falafel, hummus, pitas, I just said something about Dubai. It said, because street food is for everyone. I used to say that it was from Dubai, but it's not saying that anymore. But that's open now. So interesting. Perhaps I'll try that. All right, everybody, don't forget that Jane says class action is pro bono contingency. Yeah, but whatever. You're not going to do a class action lawsuit against an idiot in an RV. You do that against Apple Computer. And if you've ever been part of a class action lawsuit, really the only people who make any money from that are the attorneys. You get a check for like $2. So I'm not doing any class action lawsuits against anybody. I've probably already said too much about these lawsuits on this live stream. Somebody will find a way to agitate that. But that's basically it. Tune in later. Please become a sponsor. I know there's a lot of videos, a lot of the, now that Crowdsource the Truth 3 has been removed by YouTube, there's a lot of videos that are missing from either Patreon or Subscribestar or YouTube. Hey Dave, some of them, that's my neighbor, some of them you can see on Rumble. Oh yeah, let's see if Rumble is still going. You can see them on BitChute, you can see them on Rumble. So, get onto some of these alternate platforms if you can. They're free, and that might be a way, rumble.com/user/CS the truth, or if you just go onto Rumble and search for CS the truth. Let's see if this video is playing. Huh. Wow, why didn't that bring me right to CS the truth? Well, all right, I'm sure, who knows, rumble.com/user/CS the truth. Rumble, BitChute, library, here it is. It says live, I think it's live. Look at that, that's exciting. Alternate platforms. So get onto Rumble. That was a boring segment right there where I was actually 27 people watching on Rumble right now. Thank you, Rumble viewers. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. I'll see you at 6 with Manny Grossman.